Good evening, everyone. Good evening, council, members of the public who are joining us in the gallery and those joining online. It is October 7th, 2025, and welcome to the City of Summerside Committee of the Whole Council meeting here at 5:02 p.m. So we have two meetings here tonight. We have our Committee of the Whole meeting, and then we have our special council meeting. There's a few things on here. I don't think it'll be, I don't think we're going to be here for multiple hours, and hopefully everyone can be home by first pitch. Go Jays. All right. Call for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Snow, second. Councillor Doiron, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, changes, revisions? Seeing, hearing none, we will move along. We acknowledge before each one of our meetings that the land upon which we're gathered is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Apikway is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship, and we pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 10,000 years. At this point, I'll call on any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the agenda this evening. Seeing and hearing none. That's great. We'll move right along. At this point, we move into committee reports and recommendations for members of the public. This is an opportunity for committee chairs, of which there are a number, just to provide an update to council and the public on the current progress of the work at each committee. So we'll start with 5A, which is Finance Committee, chaired by Councillor MacDougall. Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a report here this evening. There's a resolution will be presented this evening for the approval of our 2024-25 audited financial statements. The Finance Committee report for the monthly meeting will provide analysis and details of the 2024-25 fiscal year, and the financial statements will be posted on our website prior to October 31st. Also, the draft debt management policies, one for the general tax fund and one for the utilities, were reviewed at the last Finance Committee meeting, which was held on September 11th. Staff are now preparing the metrics to accompany these policies and will be presenting to the Finance Committee at the November meeting. We plan to present these policies to Council in December. Christmas present for you. And our community support policy has been reviewed, and this will be discussed at the Finance Committee meeting scheduled this month, later this month in October. So that's all I have for a report, Your Worship. If there's any questions.
I'm wondering if, I think I might have missed one of the finance meetings where the Queen Street repairs were talked about. Back of Samuel's, where we have the swing set, there's significant washout there. My understanding is that it's come to council with a request, or went to finance, and it might have been turned down at finance about possibly making the repairs. It's a small repair, and a significant issue could possibly arise if we allow it to continue to erode. So if I'm mistaken, and it hasn't been to finance?
I believe that's been all fixed, isn't it?
No, it hasn't, and it's continuing to wash away. So what I've been told is that it's gone to finance, and at finance it was not approved to move forward to council. I would just, all I'm asking is if we could, on the next Finance Committee, if we could make sure that that's discussed again for update.
We'll definitely follow up on it. I know that our CAO was dealing with it and through the Port Authority. So my understanding, I thought there was some work done down there, but
I guess I'll just put it on the table. My understanding is the port does not, if they do own the land, they do not want to make the repairs, which is unfortunate, but we have a road that's right there and significant infrastructure and repairs or work that we've done over the last number of years in installing the swing and so on. So I would just, the only thing I would like is that we look at it in a timely manner prior to probably winter, because it is significant washout.
And I agree, and our CAO was addressing that, and I had a conversation with them on it, but it's probably a month and a half ago now, so we'll follow up and we'll have it on our Finance Committee. Thanks for bringing that
up. Thank you, Councillor MacDougall. Bylaw and Governance Chair, Councillor McColeman. Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. We did meet as a committee in, I think, just last week and a half ago. And there were a number of things on the Bylaw Governance Committee. Certainly some of the information that was presented was on vacant premises, home-based businesses, heritage bylaw, other areas on policy updates. And it was decided by the committee, rather than trying to meet every month, there's a very large bulk of work that has to be done in review and research of the bylaws, make sure of the language, to make sure it fits with some of our other policies. So what we've opted to do is meet off months to allow enough time for the staff to work on that research to bring it back to the committee. So we'll be meeting about every second month, and the next one's coming up in November. And that concludes the report. Some of the other areas that are being worked on are private composting. I said policy updates is being worked on, and just a number of things that they're trying to work on with the heritage bylaw. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Doiron, Chair of Planning Committee.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So we currently have about 8 sort of active tasks that we're dealing with at the moment, and our top focus is on sort of 2 of the higher priority items that we've sort of deemed high priority, and those things are complete streets and parkland dedication fund policies. So both of those are still, I think, sort of coming on the tail end of the consultation stage with developers, and we're aiming to bring those to council within the next month or 2. So once those are completed, we're going to shift our focus to the remaining tasks. I'll just briefly kind of go over those in no particular order, but we have crosswalk policy and sort of location determination of crosswalks, speed hump policy, housing task force implementation, active transportation network plan, active transportation planning, and mobile/manufactured homes policy. So those are sort of the things that are in the queue once we attempt to finalize complete streets and parkland dedication.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Adams, Chair for Safer Communities.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, tomorrow we're getting together with Chief for a little bit just to get a plan in place for next Wednesday, October 15th, and it's a town hall for safer neighborhoods, and our comms group have advertised this already. It'll be out again, but we ask anybody interested, please come and participate. It will be a time for open dialogue and questions, and if we don't have the answers, and if staff are there that don't have the answers, then we'll work at getting back to you on it. So that's October 15th at the Cup at 6 p.m. Town Hall for Safer Neighborhoods. And just in regard to the same topic, I would like to ask Councillor McColeman to read something that was brought forward, and this just sort of will sum up and add to the importance of why we're doing this. So.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Carey. This is just a statement on behalf of the residents around the neighborhood of Belmont Street where the fire took place and impacted on 3 properties on Belmont Street. And I just said that I would make these comments from things that residents had said. But my introduction is that 1 fire, 3 houses impacted, 1 house the cause, 2 houses were highly impacted resident victims. The whole neighborhood has been devastated. There were numerous documented complaints and concerns expressed about this problematic house property. The community of Summerside PEI made national news as a result of this fire. The statement I am making tonight as a neighbor and resident on Belmont Street and as a councillor of the municipal ward referred to as the Downtown Heritage Ward is on behalf of my neighbors and residents surrounding the neighborhood within the broader area who have been impacted, and many people feel very upset and concerned over this fire due to the numerous complaints and known concerns expressed over it many times. I also want to recognize the professional work of the Summerside Police Services, Summerside Fire Department, who must work within the framework of provincial and federal legislation, dealing with the many incoming concerns and issues over the ongoing negative activities that occurred at the former 161 Belmont Street property. And many times they're working around the municipal guidelines and municipal property taxes without a lot of the extra funds to cover some of these concerns that come in. This property at 161 Belmont was completely burnt. 2 neighbors besides this house were devastated. A home owned by seniors was ruined inside out with major fire and water damage, a destroyed newer model vehicle, and the neighbor on the opposite side lost a great deal also, with damage to the exterior of the home and 2 vehicles badly damaged due to the impact of fire. This 161 Belmont house was referred to as the neighborhood drug, flop, prostitution house. Tonight, I am stating these flop houses should not be inserted into residential neighborhoods for convenience without some stricter guidelines and legislation around to guide them. And number 1 rule, hearing from the residents who live in the neighborhood for their feedback for the future would be very important. As a result of this specific weekend fire, I've heard from many people that are very concerned about this type of housing and activity being allowed in neighborhoods around Summerside. Their comments are the whole neighborhood suffers with activities that disrupt the neighborhood life of families, seniors, and it is very unfair to people who have invested into the community and paid taxes their whole life to see this type of devastation and destroying their home. It's very significant family contents, including many lost memories as a result of fire from another problematic property next door. And some of the things that they said happened, and I can vouch for, partying late at night, outside, yelling, fighting over money, fighting over drugs, the police having to come, not being able to deal and put an end to the situation. Many people who have to work the next day, they just feel that it's very unfair to young children or people who have to work the next day. So I submit this statement on behalf of the concerned residents of the neighborhood of Belmont, Cambridge, Fitzroy, Euston Streets, and surrounding area. And I just want to reiterate what Councillor Carey has indicated. All of these residents would be welcome to attend the Action Plan for Safer Communities on October 15th at the Cup at 6 p.m. It's a town hall, and if you have an opinion, it's extremely important that we as a mayor and council hear from you. Thank you. Thanks, Carey.
Thank you, Councillor Adams, and well said, Councillor McColeman. We'll now move to Councillor Trenholm, Chair of our Parks and Green Spaces Plan. Councillor?
Yeah, that's a sad one to follow, Councillor Coleman, but I appreciate you bringing that to council. Thank you. So for the Parks and Green Space Plan, I know we have an RFP that's pretty much ready to go, so probably within the next day or a week, probably at the most, it'll be set in motion. So we'll put that out there to have a new Parks and Green Space Plan, which would be wonderful. And we're just now putting the survey and collecting the data that's been collected and pouring it into a report. So, and we're meeting again this week, so we'll have more information at the next meeting we have as well. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Snow, Chair of our Downtown Transformation Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. As we wait for the final recommendations to come back to all of council, I think I'll just use this opportunity to highlight some of the key projects in the downtown that are moving along very well. So the core block project, Scotiabank. They are Snow Brothers at the old former McDonald's. We're getting late into the process of finalizing the Mother's Antiques property for new development. The now vacant Kent building that has gone on the market. In speaking with the real estate agent that is now handling that, I'm hearing there's some significant interest in that building as well for redevelopment and the adjacent lands. So all in all, the transformation of our downtown is on the way. It's moving along with some other projects that have finished up with the Shipyards Market, other properties that are seeing a facelift in the downtown area as well. So still lots of work to be done, and it's unfortunately a slower pace than I think what everybody would like, but progress sometimes is slow, and there is some significant progress happening in the downtown. So a little bit of patience and a whole lot of work by city people and the community is creating some progress that I'm very happy. So we'll continue to move it along.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Snow. Electric Governance Review Committee, Councillor Morrison. I think, Councillor, we've got a meeting in 2 days or something, but
yeah, we haven't had a chance to meet since we last spoke, but with numerous people on the committee have been traveling and away and whatnot. So anyway, there's a meeting this week, and we have some new information coming, so should have some better stuff to report next month.
thank you, Councillor. Now, Councillor Cameron is sick, so he's not here, getting Councillor Trenholm and Councillor Doiron sick as well. I think he's joining us online. Is he?
I'm here.
There he is.
I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself.
Councillor Cameron, the Smart City Initiatives.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back to the Youth Advisory Committee too, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, my apologies. I put them together.
That's all right. I'll start with the Youth Advisory Committee. We had a meeting at Tosh last month, and we had about 20 students join us for an information session. From there, we've had our public applications open, and the process has been closed, and we're now just finalizing the final people for that, hoping to have that for the October monthly meeting. And the Smart City Initiatives, we have had some meetings underway, and applications are now open for the public to be part of that committee as well, and the closing date is the 22nd of October, I believe. And that's all for those two.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Moving to the last one, Seniors Engagement and Equity Directive, Chair Councillor Trenholm.
Yeah, we've our committee just started, so it's September 30th. We had our first meeting, having our second meeting this week. Very excited to have. We have 8 community members involved in the committee, so really excited. Our core engagement will be taking place as soon as we get a few things tidied up. So an online survey to complement the work that we're going to do. So, and there'll be 13, I guess, apartments with common rooms and senior apartments we're going to visit, as well as a nice assortment of social media, as well as church bulletins, et cetera, like that, to get the word out in terms of be able to identify what's working for seniors in the community, and maybe even more importantly, number 2 is what the seniors themselves prioritize and see as needs. So really looking forward to that taking shape. It's a lot of work in a short period of time, but I think we have an all-star committee put in place, so I think it's going to be a lot of great results at the end of the day. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Thank you, Councillor Trenholm.
I just wanted to add, since it's on the topic of seniors, I have a husband and wife who live in my ward, and they wanted to have something, an older structure, just an old swing set, removed from their backyard. Their kids are like 40s, 50s and up. They hired somebody, the person came, they took hundreds of dollars from them, and they took some of it, but they left most of it behind and will not come back to finish the job. So I reached out to, when I was going to work, I seen Duffy's coming in, and I'm like, they go by every day, maybe I'll check. So I asked, and they said for sure, when they're coming and going, one of the days they were going to go in and help out the seniors and get rid of that for them. So I just wanted to do a shout out, because like they're not a company that's from our city. They do a lot of work for our city, but they're very community-minded, and I thought that the way they reached out for those seniors was, and she might have been our old school secretary, so we might have pulled a few there, but it meant a lot that they would do that, especially after they heard what happened to them, so, yeah. Definitely.
Great, thank you, Council. With that, we'll move into item 6, staff report and recommendations. We have one here, it's half recommendations, and we are joined by Megan Williams, planner. We have Linda Stevenson here as well, and Director MacDougall. So I'll pass it over to you, Megan and Aaron.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. Very glad to be back again with some more Housing Accelerator Fund stuff for you guys. So I do have a little agenda on screen for you. So today we are going to be doing a high-level overview of the incentive policies. We're going to look at the new incentive bylaw, and I'm going to make the recommendation or ask that first reading be granted. And then I'm going to ask for direction on the design catalogs. So as I've said before, like, it's going to be quite short order that I'm going to be bringing a bunch of the Housing Accelerator Fund stuff before council. The really big decision has already been made, which was to allow the 4 units as of right. All of the other work that we're doing is basically in support of that. And I want to kind of highlight as well that if the remaining items aren't passed by the end of the year, we are at risk of losing $2.9 million, which is the remainder of the funds that were to be delegated through the CMHC HAF program. Okay, policies. So we have 5 policies, incentive policies that we're bringing forward to encourage certain types of development. So new accessory dwelling units, affordable housing, redevelopment of existing properties, missing middle dwellings, and multi-unit modular dwellings. So the money for these incentive programs is coming from the CMHC HAF program, which were all the funds that we've assigned to each policy is based on the application that we originally submitted. So we'll start with the first policy. So that one is the accessory dwelling units. So the purpose of this one is to encourage construction of new accessory dwelling units, so garden suites and secondary suites. The incentive would apply to new accessory dwelling units, either by adding to an existing dwelling that's already on the lot, or if somebody comes in with like a new house, if they want to add an accessory dwelling unit in conjunction with the main dwelling, then they would be applicable for the incentive as well. So we would give successful applicants $5,000 per new ADU. The incentive program, this one, has a maximum allocation of $40,000. And within the policy, we've got the restriction that it'll fund up to 2 ADUs per parcel. So a person could come in with basically 2, like a garden suite and a secondary suite, and they would be able to get $10,000. The expected outcome from this policy is the incentivization of 8 new ADUs. Before I proceed, does anyone have any questions on this one yet? Perfect. Next one is the affordable housing units. So the purpose of this one is obviously to encourage more affordable housing. Just to highlight, we will be tweaking the language a bit, but the intent is to couple this policy with what the PEI Housing Corporation or the CMHA already offer. So the intent will be to give successful applicants $5,000 per affordable housing unit. This fund will have a maximum allocation of $150,000. And what we'll be doing is that we will be giving folks, if they come in with an application, we'll give up to we'll fund up to 6 affordable units per property, so that's 30 grand, if my math is right. And so in total, the policy is going to incentivize 30 new affordable housing units. Any questions on that one?
How are we defining affordable housing units?
So that's why we're planning to tie in with, yes,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha, yeah.
So
That makes sense.
they have their definition, they're gonna be tracking it, we're just giving the money out.
That's-
Yeah. Any other questions? Perfect. Redevelopment. So this one is to encourage the consolidation of 2 or more small lots into a single larger lot. The incentive will apply to projects that will result in 4 or more dwelling units. And it will apply to projects that are either fully residential or mixed-use projects. So that would be like the commercial residential building that we have within our bylaw. We will be giving applicants, successful applicants, $10,000 per consolidation application with a maximum allocation of $100,000. So it's only $10,000 per consolidation. It doesn't matter how many lots they put into it. So this policy will incentivize 10 consolidations. Any questions on that one yet?
I just want to check, maybe it's me not understanding it, but the incentive, is that given to the developer or the property owner, like a resident or? Just want to be clear on that.
Yeah, so that question kind of ties in with the incentive bylaw that I'll be bringing forward, so I'll explain a bit more then, but to answer your question, yes. So whomever is the applicant, it could be a developer, it could be a nonprofit organization, it could be a resident. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. Any other
And
questions?
the only question I had is, you say it's from 4 units up?
Yes.
Couldn't be from 6 up, right? Why 4? It just, I think we're playing
Why
into
did we
the
pick 4?
thing that we argue with mostly.
1 second.
Sorry, no, we're given money to consolidate lots. I'm wondering why we're starting at 4 units. Why can't we start at 6? The 4 units as of right is a problem to start with. And I just thought it could be 6.
Yeah.
It would save a lot of the problems in the areas that I had identified
Okay.
before.
It's, the 4 is just a suggestion. If council does want it to be higher, then we can for sure.
So where do we do that?
You can let me know now.
Okay.
And when I bring it forward October 20th, that change will already be integrated into the policy.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
I propose 6.
Okay. Any other, yeah, I would,
I just want an explanation why you want to propose 6. And I'm not against it, I just wanted to know, I'm just trying to figure out where it's coming from.
I hate to get into this again, but
No.
I was adamantly against the 4 units as a right. And this just seems to be paying somebody or a bonus to get, if their lots are not big enough, to get another lot so you can put it in. My basic reason behind mine was the larger subdivisions that were built in the 70s are basically the ones that are going to be affected. And so I think if we had put it at 6, it's going to eliminate that issue. But
It-
it may and it may not.
Am I
Anyway.
correct in saying though that larger subdivisions would already have enough lot size for 4 units as of right? Like, this is so that if there's a lot that is too small to develop into a 4 unit, they can consolidate to get 4 units out of it.
That-
that's correct.
So the lots you're referencing are already big enough, or that was the concern originally, that they were
Right.
big enough to.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand if there's a need to
I
June,
can't, I
don't
can't
mind.
guess, I
Well-
can't guess where it would happen, but example would be the core block. There was 4 or 5 different smaller properties down there, and they all need to be consolidated to allow that one building to happen. That would be an example where they incurred costs to create those 4 or 5 smaller businesses in a one larger lot to allow a higher density development to happen. It may happen in other places in the city, but I think that was the target nationally, that they're saying, this is not this is an incentive that was in the program. We're saying, okay, for us to do that, to cover off legal or survey costs, to consolidate properties to allow a higher density development happen.
Yeah,
I'm not saying where it will or will not happen, but that'd be an example.
which I understand. So so we're giving this bonus for 4 units, let's say. If they consolidate 2 lots, and it's now big enough for 6 units,
8,
8,
12,
12,
Right.
sure,
yeah.
they could do that. This is just, I think what you're recommending is, I guess I'm cautioning you because you're concerned with the 4 units. So if we go to 6 units, that's increasing the amount of units in that lot. So if you were concerned about 4, to consolidate to allow 6, it's forcing them to put 6 in, like where it'd be 4. So I just,
So-
I don't know if it's doing what you think it's doing. But
I
I'm
guess where I'm going is, I don't want it to happen in those, what do you call them, but, the subdivisions that are out there now. And, if you have something like that happening, you got basically a 6 unit or 8 unit in between houses in established subdivisions now, that's what most of the people were up against before. So you can't, you could do 4 units as a right, but do we have to allow this to happen in every part of the city? Can we not, even if it was for the 4 unit, if we left it the way it was, can we pick the areas where it may not happen, or it's not allowed to happen?
We could, but I personally feel that's a bit prohibitive.
Pardon?
I feel that's a bit prohibitive. I don't expect there to be much uptake on this particular policy, and I expect most of the applications will be in the downtown area, like in the old Summerside.
Yeah. So why don't we do that then? Just, anyway, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. I guess you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And if it can be regulated, I think we should regulate it. Because, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
before I make those changes, I will need kind of like a majority consensus amongst council.
Yes,
Yeah.
Megan, yeah, so maybe we can put a couple of these where there are decision points as notes, and then when it comes through to council for approval, we can actually have separate votes on those, and councilors can explain why
I'll
or
do that.
why not. Recognizing that there's still 4 units as of right throughout the city. This would mean that there would be an incentive for consolidation of 2 lots into 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever.
And just to make sure that I'm understanding, Councillor MacDougall, you wanted to propose the change to increase it from 4 to 6 units as the minimum requirement, and then to control where the redevelopment policy would apply within the city.
Right.
Perfect.
If you can't do one, at least you can do the other,
Okay.
you know. The big uprise when we started this was the 4 units as a right in the outlying communities. So, you know, if all of a sudden, instead of 4 units next door, they're gonna have 6 or 8, I hope that they were told that.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Were there any other questions or comments? Perfect. Missing middle. So this policy will encourage the development of missing middle housing excluding accessory dwelling units, and that's just because we already have an ADU incentive policy. So this incentive will apply to semi-detached, duplexes, townhouses, row houses, and apartments up to and including 4 stories tall. The policy will give successful applicants up to $5,000 per unit, and this one will have a maximum allocation of $60,000. The applications that we receive, we will be funding up to 4 units per property. So a person would be able to get to $20,000 through this incentive. And the expected outcome is the incentivization of 12 dwelling units. Any questions or comments?
I have a question and comment on it. I'm wondering if under this incentive policy, it would be possible to include, the incentive policy encourages the refurbishment or development of missing middle housing, and then under the incentive, the next paragraph, the incentive would apply to semi-detached duplex townhouses. I'm wondering if it could also include mobile homes or mini homes. The last possible change would be to fund up to 4 units per property. I wrote or unit, where individuals primarily in mobile homes don't own the property. The property would be owned by a property owner, but what I'm hoping we can include as an incentivization under the missing middle, or perhaps it comes better under the modular, but probably not, to make sure that we have an incentive program to help people who are living in mobile homes be able to refurbish them, to keep those units online as well as simply just bringing on new units.
I'm not sure if I fully get it. I'm not sure if your quantifier was for mobile homes, refurbish the mobile homes, is it?
Yeah.
I'll check with staff later, but I'm not sure if the single family fit the definition federally as missing middle. I think it was, they did not include single family, or whether it was mobile home or single family, but we could double check that for you.
Yeah, so even if it's not there, if it doesn't fit within the missing middle definition, if there's an opportunity to include, to fit that elsewhere, and whether that's in the subsequent one, the modular dwellings, or even property redevelopment. One of the things that this program doesn't necessarily highlight is gives us the opportunity to make sure we keep units on market that may otherwise not be. So, certainly there's value for incentives in there. So that would be the objective. And if you can find a way to fit it in, that would be great. If it doesn't fit within the parameters of the program, well, we ask.
Okay. Yeah, the intent of the policies is to bring new units into it, but if council does want to make that tweak to, for refurbishing, we can make that change. So just to make sure I'm understanding, under the missing middle policy, potentially include the refurbishment of manufactured dwellings. You'd made a comment about 4 units per property. Can you expand on that for me?
Yeah, where it says fund up to 4 units per property, but the issue for a mobile home park would be that the property is, the individuals own the units but don't own the property, right? So you lease the property. So to make sure that it isn't just limited to the property, but would then be available to the individual unit owners.
Versus, I see.
Yeah, and again, it may not fit in the missing middle, as to
Yeah.
Director McDonald's point, but if there is a place to fit that otherwhere, whether it's in the property redevelopment or elsewhere, I think it would be valuable for the municipality. Again, if it keeps a unit from, right, if we have a unit that needs some additional incentive funding to stay in market, what's the point in spending it to bring something in new when we can spend it to keep it there? So if there's a way to make that work, that would be great.
Okay. I will look into that. Was there any other comments or questions? Seeing none. And I believe this is the last one, multi-unit modular dwellings. So this one is to incentivize the rapid development of new housing through modular construction. Modular construction being parts of the building are built off-site, typically in a factory setting, and then brought on-site to be put together, kind of like Legos. So it'll apply to multi-unit, so apartment buildings that are 5 stories or taller, buildings built through modular construction. The incentive would give successful applicants $5,000 per unit, and this program itself will have a maximum allocation of $120,000. So in the end, it'll fund up to, and then the applicants, we would allow 12 units per application, basically. So that would be 60 grand per application. And in the end, the expected outcome is that the policy will incentivize 24 dwelling units using modular construction. Any other comments, questions?
I guess a comment, in watching the modular apartment building be built on the way to Charlottetown, just outside, I don't know if anybody realizes, but when you go through Winslow, that apartment building that's on the left is a big apartment building. It went up really, really quick. It was pretty impressive how it went together. Every time I traveled Charlottetown quite a bit, and every time it seemed like they were just flying. So it's a neat way of doing builds nowadays. We're actually, my real life job, we're actually building a hotel at a same way, modular. So it's it's a neat way of doing things now, and moves the construction process along quite quickly.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm just curious, why 5 stories or taller?
Because missing middle is 4 stories or less.
Yes, that's right. Okay, that was an easy answer, thank you.
All right, thank you, Megan. Don't see any further questions on the incentive policies. So we'll move on to incentive bylaw. We'll continue with that and then.
So the incentive bylaw, when I was reviewing it earlier, I did realize I made a boo-boo. Apparently, I can't remember what order the months go in. So there should be a sheet on your table that tells you what page that's supposed to be a replacement in. Sorry about that. So the purpose of the half incentive bylaw is basically to enable the incentive policies. So we do have an existing grant bylaw, but it only considers nonprofit organizations, which does necessitate a specific bylaw for the half incentive policies, just because we do want those policies to apply to more than just the nonprofits. So the bylaw has the eligibility criteria for each incentive policy. It establishes the 2 intake periods, which are in fact October 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2025. And then the second intake period is April 1st to December 7th. It contains the conditions for the dispersal of funds, the limitations of the policies, and it does grant the CAO the ability to reassign funds from one half stream to another if one is underperforming, because that was one of our concerns is, well, if we've got 100 grand sitting in this policy and it's not getting used, we would like to be able to move it somewhere else, and so this bylaw does permit that. So the procedure for adopting this bylaw, because it's not a planning one, it only requires 2 readings that have to be granted at 2 different council meetings. So staff is asking for first reading to be granted tonight, and then we will hopefully be bringing it forward for second reading on October 20th. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm just curious, it says no, in terms of determining that the funds aren't being used, I think it reads that there's no, if there hasn't been an application in 2 months, that would trigger the funds to be, some of the funds to be put elsewhere. I'm just thinking 2 months doesn't seem like a very long time for it to trigger that movement, but maybe I'm wrong. What's the rationale there?
It's because there is a rush to get the money out. So we've got until basically the end of December 2026 to get the funds out.
Sure.
So that's why we only gave that 2-month program, and we will kind of be able to see. So we've also split it into 2 intake periods. The second one is kind of the beginning of when we start to see a lot more applications in construction starting for the new year. So we figure kind of around that time, we're going to have a good idea of what are our more popular incentive programs and which ones aren't.
Yeah, I do think it's a great idea to be able to pass the money around and use it where it's been needed. So it's great, thanks.
I just wondered, in all of this, I should have asked earlier, so is there anything here, I know that there is like for developing properties, like a smaller unit or whatever on a property, is there anything for the smaller homes? Or would that be similar to like a granny suite and can be semi-detached? It doesn't have to be attached to a main house?
Correct. A note as well is that applicants will be able to stack the policies. the incentive programs. So they'll be able to dip into as many of them as apply to them. So we've got the ones for the accessory dwelling units, so that's the secondary suites or the granny suite, the garden suite. We do have the multi-unit ones, so those are kind of the apartment style, so those could be smaller units.
They could be smaller.
Yeah, and then but those ones would be an apartment. And then the missing middle does include the duplex and the semi-detached.
The ones I'm thinking of, Megan, are where Dory View Lane is. They're smaller. They're almost like smaller duplexes, but they're independently. That's not the right word.
Yeah.
I can't think of the right word.
Single family.
Yeah. But there seems to be a big interest in smaller homes for
Yeah.
people, so.
Yeah, the intent of the program is to kind of do the gentle density, right? So the single family, single detached dwellings aren't really considered in any of the policies of the program outside of the accessory the accessory dwelling units.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm very similar to what Councillor McColeman was talking about. Is there anything in, like, for the tiny homes or mini home parks or mini?
No.
There's nothing.
Again, they targeted high density, they went down as far as 70 taxes as low as they went.
As low as they went, yeah. And probably just before we go any further, I went to get a glass of water and had a conversation with Linda. And even if you combine two lots in an R1, it still wouldn't be allowed to build any more than 4, right? Is that what you're saying? Can you clarify that, Linda?
You were trying to get 6 passed.
No. Yeah, not. Pardon?
The incentive was up to 6 units, but that would only be if the 6 units were allowed to be built where those 2 lots were being consolidated. So if it was in an R1, only 4 units are allowed. Just that policy wouldn't apply.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
So,
Linda.
we're good.
Okay. Perfect.
So we eliminate question number 1? Just to clarify.
Yeah. Just to clarify, Councillor MacDougall, we'll eliminate the request to adjust the redevelopment policy to up it to 6 units.
Yeah, because it doesn't apply anyway. You got me screwed up now too, but anyway, yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, but of where they're allowed, I still like to see that, but anyway.
Great, thank you.
Just one last thing. Back to what Councillor Trenholm was saying, where we have it down to 2 months. I wonder if 3 months just makes more sense since we have 2 intake periods, so like almost like it's quarterly, and just allow a little bit more time for developers to get their plans ready. 2 months does seem very quick to me to start reallocating funds if each of the streams are as important as as the other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we're wanting to see action in all those areas, 2 months does seem like a short period. So if we were to do anything, maybe 3, that allows sort of a shift halfway through each, sort of goes quarterly like most things do.
Yeah. If that is council's wish, it's not, the bylaw hasn't received first reading yet.
I'm not stuck on it. I'm just thinking if there's.
If they want to increase that, that's more than, that's fine. We chose 2 months just because we wanted it to be quick.
Yeah. I'm fine with either. I'm not stuck on it, but I'm just, if you think 2 works better, and I'm fine. I just brought that as a.
Oh, I just have a question about the funding too, and how it's going to be, how and when it'll be rolled out, because you can say the 2 months is going to be quick. So if I apply for funding and get approved, but I don't start my project for 8 or 9 months down the road. So I'm assuming that the money's going to be held on to till the work actually starts, or some certain amount of it's completed, or you're just not gonna, I'm gonna apply for it, you're gonna give me $20,000, and then gee, 2 years later, I still haven't done anything with it.
Yeah.
But I have the $20,000.
So there's almost two kind of, 2 points to this. So for the majority of the policies, we will only be giving out the funds once an occupancy permit has been received. The exception is to the redevelopment one, which is when the foundations are complete, just because those are larger projects. So those are when we'll give the funds out. And the other piece is that we have until the end of 2027 to give the funds out. So this is to kind of make sure folks are building quickly and now. Yeah. Thank you. Welcome.
Just to clarify on that too, on the 2 months piece, that empowers the CAO to, they may reassign funds, but they don't have to reassign funds, right? So if they have an indication that there are gonna be other potential projects, the CAO doesn't have to reassign them all to ADUs, they can keep them in the modular unit, so it is flexibility there.
Correct. Perfect. Any other questions? Stupendous. Next, okay. So the design guidelines. So we're bringing these back. What we need now is just direction. We don't need a decision on whether or not, like what content goes into it. So I'll just kind of rehash what the design guidelines are, and then I'll talk a bit more about what I'm looking for. So design guidelines are a method of controlling the look of new development, and the guidelines can include things like landscaping, architectural components, and parking lot requirements. And then another piece of definition that I wanted to make sure was clear is that missing middle is semi-detached, duplex, townhouse, row house, and apartment buildings 4 stories or less. And then the mixed-use multi-unit would be our commercial residential building. So what we're proposing is to introduce the guidelines as a pilot project, and to restrict the design guidelines so that they're only impacting missing middle or mixed-use multi-unit buildings when the applicant is requesting a major variance or when they are a discretionary use. So these applications will come before council for decision. So the design guidelines we're proposing will have one set of mandatory lot building design elements that must be included in every applicable application. And then there will be a second set of lot and building design elements that applicants must choose from to include in their site design, which would be in addition to the mandatory elements. So the reason we're recommending this method is because we won't need to do an amendment to the zoning bylaw or the official plan. It's a very slow, concentrated rollout, which allows staff to trial them and work out any issues without impacting all of the developments across the city. And it helps blend new housing developments with those major variances into the neighborhood better. And so I guess like the next question that we pose is, will council see a lot of these applications? We're expecting a few of them, at most one a month. I think that's kind of been on target for what I've seen since I've started, is that the major variances, we get about one. I think I've seen 6 that come through. Okay, so what do we need? We need direction from council. So there's 3 options, which are to approve the proposed method, to propose a different method, or to reject adopting the design guidelines. So in order to make sure that we've got enough time to complete the work before the end of the year, we do need direction tonight. We're recommending option 1. And I just kind of want to highlight that option 3 will mean that we won't receive the expected 2.9 million from CMHC, and then also not providing direction tonight will also result in the same consequences. Yeah. Any questions?
No questions, I'm just, I guess, statement, I have no issue with option 1. So as one councillor, it seems to be thought out and slower pace moving, and I think that's good for everybody with any concerns as we see it roll out.
I think you've done a really good job of breaking it down and explaining. I'm not contrary to it, but I tend to look outside the box sometimes, and I think of things that we have faced as a council when we sign off and jump in really, you know, and go ahead with something, and then down the road we're faced with something that kind of really puts us in a situation, and I'll give as an example, on Pope Road. There was an application for a development, we all know which one it is, and they wanted to do the higher end of the development first before they did the smaller units, I believe. And I think council got caught in that situation where some of us felt, well, they applied firstly to do the smaller units, and in that area there was a lot of controversy with the residents. So that's what I'm saying. We can do this and say, yes, it sounds wonderful, but I'm thinking of the things that maybe we're not thinking of that we could run into, that we're locking ourselves into a box that we might not be able to change. I'm not trying to be contrary, but I just sometimes feel like we can sign off on things and then we run into a problem that we didn't think of.
So
Does that make sense?
It does. So
Okay.
great news. I hear your concerns, and it's a policy. So when we get the first application, if we do find that there's something that we didn't consider, if there's a bit of a hiccup, if we find it super annoying to try to go through, we can make that change so it doesn't affect the next one.
Okay, so it would, again, I'm just trying to be really clear and think this through. So that means if we did run into a hiccup, we as a council could debate it, discuss it, whatever, but we're not going to end up having to go through IRAC because we've looked at something and we feel that, no, maybe that's not going to work in that area of the community.
Yeah, we'll have the design guidelines vetted through legal. So there'll kind of be that kind of security blanket. There's always going to be risk for getting appealed to IRAC, right? You can't avoid that. But we'll, as staff, will do our best to guide you through the process. Okay. Yeah, of course.
Hi, Megan. The only thing I had, you did a great job on all of this, and I'm just old and crusty, so. But I just, I'm wondering, because Councillor Adams, Councillor Doiron, myself went through turmoil getting to this point. So is there any way, just because it's not 4 units as a right or anything like that, in these areas, in the older subdivisions, if an application come in, can it be sent to council for approval or denial? Why couldn't it be if it's not? That's.
Can you repeat the question for me?
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Perry subdivision, if there's an application comes in there, maybe it doesn't happen that way. An application comes in and they want to build combine 2 lots and build in that subdivision. That's not, they can build if the lot's big enough, but they don't get the incentive. Why couldn't it come back here for approval or denial? We're not talking the building, we're talking the incentives.
Oh, the incentives.
I know they're not much, but.
Yeah, it's to expedite the process.
Pardon?
It's to expedite the process. So the idea is that when council's approving these policies, staff will follow them. We won't go outside of them. The idea is that the policies are council's will. So as we're implementing them, bringing it back to council would be superfluous.
Maybe not.
Councillor Badou, are you talking about this one here or the previous incentives?
Previous incentives.
Okay, sorry, I was
Yeah.
into here because they have restricted the effect of this one here to only ones that were coming before. That's why I was mixed up.
Yeah. No, okay.
Anything else on the design guidelines for missing middle and mixed unit?
Yeah, so, okay, further to what Bruce said, so it's being done like to expedite the process, I understand that. So, and you're saying you can change
The policies, yep.
It changes the policy. So can we do the reverse? Can we get them to come to council? And if it becomes too onerous and too time consuming, then we put it, the guideline, the policy in place that it goes to staff to decide?
For the incentive policies?
Yes.
Just so we're not, this isn't, we're talking about the incentive policies
Yeah.
again, right?
Yeah.
So what councillors are proposing, I think, is that council then would decide on a case-by-case basis who gets money and who doesn't get money, so who meets the program or doesn't. That's sort of, that's not really the role of
No,
council,
no,
right?
thank
We're
you.
not here to, yeah,
No.
you don't want people coming in and saying, I meet the program, do I get the money or not? And council are saying, well, no, you don't, or you do.
yeah.
That's for the incentive piece, right? That's we're here trying to
I
set the
know, but
policy for the
and
incentives.
I'm not saying we say no, but I think we should be involved in knowing what's going, what incentives are going out the door. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We'll be providing like a report, and we can report more often if you'd like, but the idea is that we kind of give a report to say this is where we gave the incentive money out to, and because it is public funds, we do have to post it publicly.
Yeah, I guess that would work.
Yeah, so we can bring it back a bit more frequently. I think I was thinking of doing it annually. Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense. That's really valuable if people know we want to know what's going out and what's happening, for sure, especially with these types of things. Yeah, but reporting and update, yeah, absolutely. We just be cautious on, yeah, okay. Back to the design guidelines for the missing middle and mixed-use multi-unit. So on the three options to council, because we have two, right? We have the missing middle and then we have the density bonus.
Yes.
Are you
So-
looking for direction now from council for moving to approve the proposed method or propose a new one?
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be as official as a resolution, as long as I get the majority of council saying, yes, we're fine with the proposed method. What I'll do is I'll take that back, I'll talk with the consultants, they'll put together the design guidelines and like the policy work, and then I'll bring that forward to council as well, and we can have a bit more of a fulsome like kind of public engagement piece too. And that's when we can have that juicier discussion about what goes into the design guidelines. We just need something now.
Yeah, so, still the nodding head. So the way I've learned in 3 years to ask council on the nodding head ones is if anyone does not want to proceed with, give direction to staff on number one, which is to approve the proposed method, to have staff be able to go back and continue to work on this. So if anyone else has a different proposed method or wants to reject the adopting of the design guidelines.
Thank you.
I always have to just qualify something though. We're not being difficult. We're really not.
I know.
It's just, I think sometimes you learn things along the way.
Yes.
And me personally, I really struggle with when residents say, oh, council just rubber stamps. Council just rubber stamps. Or we don't ask questions or whatever. And I think we all try to do that so that if anybody is in the gallery or listening, at least they know that we're trying. And we're not professionals in this field, so we really need to know those answers to help us.
Yes,
So,
and I do appreciate the questions.
Thank you.
Of course. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, council. So next one is the density bonusing guidelines. So what is density bonus? It is a tool meant to provide benefits to both the municipality, its residents, and the developers. So a developer will provide a public benefit that contributes to the community amenities and livability, such as affordable housing, in exchange for bonus development rights, such as increased building height or increased lot coverage. So how would density bonus work here in Summerside? So our zoning bylaw permits density bonusing in the form of additional building height. So what we're proposing would require the subject building include affordable housing units, in addition to the design elements listed in the proposed design guidelines. So we're recommending this method, again, because we won't need to amend the zoning bylaw nor the official plan. It'll provide clear requirements to developers. It would only apply in 3 land use zones, so the R4, connector node number 1, and connector corridor number 2. So council, in our zoning bylaw currently, they've got the discretion to permit a building that is 10 stories tall. Without council approval, the maximum height is 6. Pardon me. In connector node number 1, there's an additional restriction. Any buildings within 100. There's an additional restriction in connector node number 1 that says like any new buildings coming in that are within 100 meters of an existing dwelling, they can't be any taller than 4 stories. So the design guidelines would not be able to bypass this. Will council see a lot of these applications? No, I'm not expecting any to come forward, quite frankly. So what staff is asking is for directive from council again. So that's to approve the proposed method, propose a different method, or to reject adopting the design guidelines entirely. Again, same thing, we need direction tonight. Option 1 is the one that we're proposing. Yeah. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Same general question to council, if anyone doesn't agree with recommending option 1. Seeing and hearing none. All right, thank you, Megan.
Thank you very much, and that's everything. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.
So Megan, can I ask you one last question? Because I was pushing that we go out to the public. I'm wondering what kind of reception we did get from the public.
When I was sleuthing along the Facebook comments, they were quite negative, but they also weren't really touching on the design guideline piece. I did receive one comment which I should have included in the package. Yes, there we go. On page 30, oh no, I'm going to say that wrong. Stephanie, they provided a comment to me about the stories, the height. So the downtown area already has design guidelines in place. So when I responded to them, I just explained, like, we can't, the design guidelines that we're proposing won't apply to the downtown area, but I will include your request for the height limitation as one of the design elements. But it's 5 stories. What I've proposed in the design elements is any new building is of similar height to the neighboring dwellings.
Yeah, Councillor Adams, you're right, the regent is 5.
It's 5, yeah.
Yeah, it's Stefan.
Oh, Stefan, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for your time today and all of the work. The additional policies are in the package for council to continue to review. So again, I think the ongoing open to feedback from council on those as it goes, and would come forward again to a future council meeting. And then with respect to the incentive bylaw, that is moving to first reading later this evening. Great. Thank you for all your work and all the work at the city for this. There's been a lot. We now move on to Committee of the Whole discussion items. The first one on is Evergreen Village. Councillor MacDougall, I will hand it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think everybody in here knows the issue of Evergreen Village, and I know that we're limited to what we can say this evening because we are, there's a IRAC hearing on Evergreen Village, so we need to be very cautious. But I just wanted to, for awareness, I want to point out that we have some residents in the room this evening, and thank you for coming. About 3 weeks ago, we everybody received a letter from Risha from the park, basically updating us on the status of where things were, and It seems to be about a year now, and things have not changed a whole lot. So, Risha, Councillor Cameron and Councillor Trenholm and myself met with Risha and a couple others on about 2 weeks ago, I guess now, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, to do a tour around the park and notice some real deficiencies that needed to be addressed very soon. And I'm pleased to say that it was reported here this evening that there's been some upgrades done in the park in the electrical area. That was one that really concerned me. I couldn't believe it, but anyway. So that has taken place, and I know there's some dealings going on in the background that we can't talk about between probably the province and the owners, and trying to come up with a way to bring the park up to where it needs to be and should be. Councillor Cameron there? You still there? Councillor Cameron?
Yep, still here.
Yeah, if you wanted to add anything, I know that we were there, and I did reach out to Minister Ramsey, and she told me that she's been in touch with Risha, she's been in touch with the department, and they continue to work to try and get a resolution. But as of today, there's no resolution yet, but it's good to hear that there's some improvements being done. Did you want to add something, Councillor Cameron?
No, I think you touched on everything. I just want to say thank you to Risha for showing us around and taking the time to go through with us and show us all of her concerns. Excuse me. And also, I just think it's important when things have been going on like this one for so long that maybe if there is nothing on the forefront that we can do as a council, it is good to continuously bring it forward, to keep it in the limelight, to make sure that people are talking about it. So it does put a little bit of pressure out there for the other working parts to get something done along the way. I know it's not an easy thing to take care of, and I know that people are working hard, but it's also good to just make sure that it's constantly being talked about. And I think that's what we're doing here tonight, and it's kind of what needs to be done. But that's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Councillor Trenholm, did you?
Yeah, thank you. I just echo those comments, but I think too in terms of, we do have the mobile home policy that's kind of in the works or going to be looked at sometime soon. So, like, I know it's with planning committee, right? So I guess looking at if there is a way to get to that, prioritize it maybe a little quicker. But I know there's a lot on the agenda with planning. So I guess just trying to, it certainly, knowing that it's been a year it's not a happy place for anybody here on council that this is happening in the city, and you know, I think if we can develop some type of policy, see what we can do in regards to a policy, but that doesn't answer any questions for people here, that's for sure. But that's about it. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Trenholm. So basically, I just put it on the agenda for awareness tonight, and if there's any councillors that other councillors that has any questions, go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. I just wanted to mention to the residents that are here, I want to thank my fellow councillors, Councillor Bruce and the others that did attend and do a walkabout with you. I also want to point out that some of us are very much interested, but sometimes we can't be at the time that you're going to meet. So we just wanted to know, or I want to make sure you know, that we are interested and we're following along and getting the feedback so that we know that as a group. So if we're not there, it doesn't mean that we're not interested. Okay? Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor McColeman. I was going to mention that and basically forgot. So basically tonight I wanted to put this on for awareness and you know, to let the The residents know that we will continue to work in the background to do whatever we can, and if there's any more information that you can share with us, please do. Did we ask them if they want to say anything? Yeah. Did you, Tyler, did you want to say anything, or?
No, you pretty much hit the nail on the head
J-
there. We're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, just come to the mic if you can. Sorry.
There we go. Thanks for having us here tonight. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. We're pretty well in the same boat as we were about a year ago. We have seen some fairly significant upgrades, so that's good.
Right.
And thanks for everything you're doing for us.
Good. All right. Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate it. Good.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler, and thanks, Councillor, and the councillors who were up there. I've been up there a couple of times in Risha's kitchen, and this is an incredibly frustrating file for council, and I think for all of us, and I can sense your frustration and anger with the pace at which things move. Also, certainly to echo Councillor's comments, to share our empathy with the situation that many of you are in, and others, a variety of different situations right now in the park. And I go back to, it was over a year ago, I think it was October 1st of last year, when we met at St. Eleanor's Lions Club there with all of the residents. And we had a pretty frank and open conversation that night, and we were given some marching orders, and we went and got those things done, recognizing there's only so much we can do, which I know isn't always what you want to hear. I guess Premier Lance was the Minister of Housing at the time, and now is the Minister of Housing again. So we continue to do the three things I think you've asked for, which is to advocate for Evergreen and the residents of Evergreen, whether that's with other levels of government, but also in public. We've done media spots on CTV and CBC and stuff. Engage with the province directly. We have had meetings with the province as well to try and continue to encourage them to look to find a solution for this. And then addressing the infrastructure and safety issues, and whether that's when the sinkhole arose, we sent our folks in there, we sent in our emergency services to check the potholes to make sure we could get the fire trucks and police cruisers through. Again, trying to put as much pressure as we possibly can on the owner to get things done. And I know all of you have been as well. So hoping, continue to recognize we can all do better. We certainly can, and also, but continue to hope that there'll be a positive resolution for the residents, so that you have security in the homes that you enjoy, and so do your families. So thanks for putting this on, Councillor MacDougall, and councillors for attending again, and keep talking to us and keep updating us. I do touch base with Risha quite a bit, or sometimes she just gives me an update when I don't ask, which is fine, but that's good as well, recognizing that you filed an application with IRAC in June, so we'd certainly wish you luck through that. And perhaps we can look as well. I obviously can't make a decision on this, but we could potentially look, if you would keep us updated on the status of that application. I'm not sure if it's something that, I'm not familiar with all the ins and outs of how IRAC operates, but whether or not it's something that we could intervene in and provide feedback to. Because at the end of the day, residents within our community, and when there are private water and sewer and roads, it creates problems for all of us, I think, because we want to make sure that you have the same quality roads and water and sewer and infrastructure that all the other residents do. So if you can keep us apprised of that, and perhaps it would be something that we can look at from staff, as whether or not that's even something we can do, so that we can share our perspective as well with IRAC throughout any potential application process, so they recognize how difficult it can be for a municipality as well.
Thank you.
Great, yeah, thanks, councillors, and thank you all for coming, and you're welcome to stay for the rest. We'll see if they get something in that incentive policy as well. With any further questions, comments, statements from council? With that, we move into the East-West Connector Street naming update. I'm hoping I sent an email around to council there with sort of a proposed process. So what I'll do first is just park the Stubb Street discussion, move to the east-west corridor discussion, as long as.
Your worship.
Yep, councillor.
So the email just came in like at 10 a.m. this morning, so I didn't get to look at it till later, but I did send a couple emails back after work just regarding the name Woodridge not being permitted.
Yes. So if we can just park the Stubbs for a second, we'll
Okay.
deal with the main corridor, and then we'll come back to the
Okay.
Stubb Street discussion.
Perfect.
If that's okay, councillor?
Yeah,
Because I
that's
did
fine.
see that. I didn't read them either,
Yep.
but I did notice they were
Nope,
there.
that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought maybe we could get the corridor one sorted. Okay, so based on previous feedback from council, looking to engage with public, but also to make sure that potential names were out there, were submitted. Following the last council meeting, there was a public feedback process in two ways. One was members of the public were able to submit names for the potential names for the street that they thought would be fitting. And second is they were able to vote on the current list of approved street names for the city. My proposal to council to try and narrow this down a little bit to help you make a final decision is to take the top two names that members of the public voted on from the approved list. I'm going to go from, they're set out in the email and I can read them. I think it's Poppet and Happy Land. The second were the names that were submitted from the public that are not on the pre-approved list. For members of the public, there's a pre-approved list that has gone through a street naming committee that makes sure that the names are, street name meets the requirements of 911, basically, to make sure that doesn't sound too much like another name, or there's not an exact name of the street close by. There were two names that had the most submissions. They were Dugay and Cairns. And then the staff recommendation was Ryan. So that would be 5 choices. I put it out to council. If any councillor wanted to add a name to the list, they could do that tonight. And then we would form a short list. Staff would go discuss with the street naming committee to make sure both Cairns and Dugay would be appropriate and meet the requirements, as well as any other names by council. And then at the next council meeting, we can have a vote and decide on the street name. So to simplify it, right now there would be 5 names on the short list: Poppet, Happy Land, Dugay, Cairns, and Ryan, plus any other name you wanted to add, and then we would just vote on them at the next meeting.
Your worship, just
Yep.
On timing, I think you said would be October.
It would be the Hope, October 20th would be our next council meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's when it would be approved.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's more they have to order the street signs, but I don't know when. Councillor Snow?
Is there, from the names brought forward that were not on the approved list, being Dugay and Cairns, is there one or the other that was scored higher than the other? So from listening to you, it sounded as though Poppet and then it was Happy Land. That does make me happy when you say that. Poppet and then Happy Land. And then, like, was it Cairns then Dugay or Dugay then Cairns? I'm just wondering if we can not simplify it and say that top one that would, which unfortunately is not Happy Land, but if it was Poppet, and then if the top one was Cairns, and then the staff recommendation being Ryan.
Yeah, I just picked the top 2 just because sometimes one or two, and they were close. I think it was like 67, 47 on one, and then the Poppet Happy Land was like 140 and 120 or something like that.
Yeah.
Trying to keep it to a manageable list and not and make sure to include the list of 5.
Awesome.
And then any others the council wanted to add. That was sort of the last caveat, which is I see Justin's light on, so I'm sure we're going to have a great suggestion.
No, I just had one question, I guess, that hasn't really been posed to this point, and we were sort of discussing it before the meeting, it would be for, I don't know if Aaron, you're able to answer it now or at another time, but I was wondering if there's any technical or jurisdictional reason to not rename the whole thing from South Drive to Water Street, Pope Road. There's Pope Road Extension, there's Ryan Street, like, is there a reason not to?
No, you can rename it all Pope Road. You'd have to just do the notification of the businesses that are on Ryan Street and do that civic addressing. That tends to be, there's not that many, but typically people aren't wanting to do that. But
You'd hate to get a fire call? I'd love to get a fire call if it was one whole road and then there'd be no confusion. Well, if it's numbered. It's like
It
Water
is,
Street versus Water Street East, which,
and the numbering is, I think staff looked at, the numbering on South Drive is, on the South Drive end, the numbering could be continued all the way towards Water Street East. So yes, one option could be to rename that section of Ryan Street, put that name back on your street name list for our next development, and name it Pope Road all the way. It could be an option as well.
I'd like to submit that as an option.
Sure, Councillor.
Whether there's a desire or a huge disagreement, but I think it just makes sense.
Again, we're just trying to narrow a short list, and then we can have the vote. The proposal for how we do the voting is we'll vote, and then if there's a majority of council chooses one name at the beginning, that will be it. If there is not a majority of council who chooses one name, then we'll take any name that is not voted on as the top choice and remove it, and the lowest voting name and remove it, and do it again, and so on and so forth. Do you all agree?
So.
So that would be adding Pope Road to the list.
But also sort of.
With a
Adding a
star,
whole
yeah,
bunch of
put a
different-
star on it,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be Pope Cross.
Is Councillor Duran's suggestion then removing staff recommendation? So if we were to, trying to narrow it down, if we keep adding, this is what my concern was from the beginning when you, not include the public, obviously it was a great exercise, people got behind it, but now we got a whole bunch of names coming forward and other proposed names. I've heard lots about other names that make a lot of sense when you're talking to people, but we gotta narrow it down, the road's gotta open. So, if we go with Councillor Duran's suggestion, then are we removing Ryan as a possible suggestion, and we would just go with Pope all the way through? Is that something council is?
I think that's what Councillor Duran's proposing for that, so if you voted for Pope Road, the expectation would be that's what you'd be voting for. Again, trying to
nail it.
yep, it would be Pope Road plus, if you wanna call it that. But again, then council can make their decision, you guys can make a decision, because otherwise we're gonna continue to add names, take away names. We just need to get to a short list and have people be able to vote, and then you can decide. Unless someone else has a proposal on how to better make the final decision, but this gives us a clear path.
What if I just propose 3 names right now, and of those names, and we said yay or nay? So if we go Pope, Cairns, and Poppet, because Poppet was the top one, and let's make a choice at the next council meeting.
The challenge is that you can't do Karen's yet, because it hasn't been vetted by the street naming committee, so we're not sure that it is a suitable name. So
Providing it's vetted. So then if it's not, then we'd have 2.
then we're back to,
I'm just trying to shorten it.
you're just trying to
It's
shorten it from 3. Yeah, the idea being that next week this should only take 5 minutes. Right, and the names on it, this should not take very much time. We'll go, who wants to choose this and who wants to choose that, and we'll be done.
Even if we have like 8 names next month.
We'll
or
be
a
quick.
couple weeks, it'll still be a quick vote. It's. Yeah.
Exactly, we can
Okay.
have no more than 8 names on the first round. The only way it will fail and not work is if all of you choose a different name. Okay, and that's not possible right now because there's only 6.
Yeah, it's sort of confusing now, but the reason I asked to go out to the public was because our developers have the opportunity to pick from the list, pick a name or to go from the list, right? Or to pick their own name and have it approved by the naming committee. And so I thought the city only develops a street every once in a while, and it was an opportunity for us to go out to the public and to get submitted names. I wasn't planning on staff having the proposed name, or the names from the naming list out there. I thought it would be something all new. But anyway, I'm good with Karen's. I have a little struggle with Pope because of Ryan Street. That seems like the Ryan gentleman we named after, that we're removing him. So that sort of is the only thing I have against that. But Pope is a great name.
Okay, so why don't at our next council meeting, you can make your choices and you can tell everyone why you think your choice is the best, and we can get the voting done. Does that work? Awesome. So we have a short list of 6. The next is the question of the stubs. I think just checking on that email there, council had a discussion and had 3 proposals: Hall, Sunrise, and Woodridge. So Hall is, I'm going to come back to you in 2 seconds. I'm just going to check off. Yep.
I just wanted to update, because people were asking on Ryan, and we were like, why is it called Ryan? So I think that we should tell people why it was called Ryan, because some people had some semi-disrespectful comments on there about getting rid of the name. So the street was named between 1956 and 1963 for Patrick Ryan. He's one of the town's longest-serving police officers. He was a Boer War veteran and served as the town's truant officer. Mr. Ryan was known for his involvement with after-school fitness programs for children, and he established a student crossing guard program. So that's why Ryan Street is what it is.
And Ryan Street is one of the recommendations on the short list. You guys can decide. So we get on to the stubs. There are 3 you had here, recommended by council: Hall, Sunrise, and Woodridge. I'm gonna, again, try and narrow this down. It sounds like Hall is okay, and everyone was okay with Hall, so I'll put a check mark there. Second, Sunrise, no, Cardinal. Wasn't it Cardinal? Not Sunrise. Cardinal, sorry, that's my bad. I read Carrie's email as an example using Sunrise. So Cardinal, and everyone seemed happy with Cardinal, and Cardinal is okay. So Cardinal and Hall are good. The last one is Woodridge. Woodridge staff provided feedback that, and Kristen, you can probably speak to, is why Woodridge doesn't meet our current street naming policy, if that's correct.
Sure. So according to the site and subdivision bylaw, street naming guidelines, so they shall be selected so as to avoid street name duplication on a city-wide basis and with abutting municipalities. So duplication is defined as streets having the same name, streets having the same parent name and different suffixes, and are not located in the same geographical area or physical connected. So this was determined. We have an existing street called Wood Avenue, so it's the same parent name, and that's why it has been removed.
So you just, and like, I'm not trying to be more hard to get along with than usual here, but so the abutting municipality part, we have a Kelly Drive in Summerside and a Kelly Drive in Musquesh. And I've brought that forward before, and that was apparently not a concern to, of like staff and emergency services. So that's something that is in the bylaw but is not looked at. I'm just gonna go through some examples, and like this is just in a few minutes, I like wrote these down. So Gavin Court is in Gavin subdivision. Hillcrest is nowhere near Hillside, but they both have hill. Wood and Woodridge, like you had just mentioned, Kristen, they're nowhere close to each other. You would know it's going into Woodridge Place. It's not like I'm suggesting Woodridge be named in Perry subdivision. It's literally going into the subdivision. Sunshine Trailer Park wouldn't, it currently exists, wouldn't, and that's a trailer park, and this is being suggested for Sunrise going into another trailer park. I see that as something that could be easily mistaken. Lafergie Avenue is not in Lafergie subdivision. It's Central Town. Lafergie subdivision is in the east. We have Dory View in the east. We have Ranch View in Central. We have Water Street. We have Water Street East. We have Pope Road. We have Pope Road Extension. So I guess I understand that it's in the bylaw, but I guess the reasoning is a little lost on me whenever I can just, off the top of my head, zip around town and pick out ones that are okay. And some of these would be very much more confusing than naming Woodridge a road actually going into Woodridge Park. So.
And what policy is it? Like what? Oh, it's set out in the. Okay, sorry, that's just a little bit different. If it's a policy, council can not follow its policies if it wants. Bylaw raises.
And it's a street naming guideline in the bylaw.
And to Councillor Adams' points that there are a whole bunch of instances where there are, I don't know what the right language is, but sharing the same root of a name. But we have it across the city. And I recognize there may be city names that were already there before the bylaw was introduced. So.
And before amalgamation,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Well.
And some are, like, I completely agree, some are older, some are newer. Gavin Court in Gavin subdivision is newer. Like Dory View, Ranch View is not newer, but Dory View is, and that was considered okay. Water Street, like you mentioned, Justin, Water Street and Water Street East and Pope Road Extension, those are, where does one end and the other start sometimes, but you go by the numbering and where your GPS takes you. Kelly Drive, Summerside, and Kelly Drive, Musquesh, and that has been an actual medical issue for somebody, so. And those are literally two names the same, right? Like, this is, what I'm requesting is Woodridge going into Woodridge Place. The same as Gavin in Gavin subdivision. I would just think that Sunrise Drive going into a mobile home park, would that be confused with Sunshine Mobile Home Park that currently exists?
Very valid points, Councillor Adams. I don't have a problem with Woodridge. Again, this street naming stuff, I, to be frank, I think it's and I don't want to dismiss it, but it seems a waste of some valuable councillor time, but it's a very valuable discussion too, but I just hope we get past this really quickly. But I have no issue with it. I guess the issue being that it's a bylaw and not a policy. How do we knowingly circumvent that bylaw to get Woodridge? Like, I just don't know what the step would be for that, and if it's even possible. But you bring up some valid points of streets already named that could conflict with one another.
No, and I guess I've got the same thought. I have no problem with Woodridge, but can we do it? Are we breaking our own laws? Is it a policy or a bylaw?
It's a bylaw, and it's called Street Naming Guidelines. That's the section.
Yeah, I'll go with Woodridge. I'll go with Woodridge.
And their guidelines, so.
And their guidelines, so.
I guess the easy way to deal with this, because I think we all kind of agree here, obviously, no one seems to have any issue with the name, but we also, again, I'd caution council to be contravening your own bylaws. That would be problematic. So perhaps staff can look back and see if where there are guidelines within the bylaw, is it possible to proceed, or is it, does the bylaw prohibit Woodridge as an option?
That's great. So if we're gonna do it and it's not allowed, then we're going to have to do something with Kelly Drive.
Yeah, and we've talked about Kelly Drive before, it there being 2 Kelly Drives so close.
Yeah, but if we decide that we're going to, like, abide by them and there's no wiggle room, then there was wiggle room on that one, so. And even if that road was there before the bylaw with the guidelines in them came into place, that probably should have been addressed if we're abiding by every guideline in the bylaw.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And
You'd
I'm
have to
not
see when-
saying, like, I'm not saying that, I'm saying it has to be done, but we're either gonna have to do one or the other.
Sure, we can certainly, yeah. So for next week, or whatever, our next 2 weeks from now, staff are gonna go look to make sure, to give us direction on whether or not, if council chooses the name Woodridge, if we would be in direct contravention of our bylaw or not, given that there are guidelines within the bylaw, which suggests some flexibility, as guidelines are just guidelines, as they like to say. But so we got 2 done, that's great, that's 50%. 2 down. Okay, great. There's a good reason, I guess, why we have a street name list and people pick them. So with that, we'll, if council is okay, we'll adjourn our committee of the whole meeting and we'll just roll into our special council meeting. Maybe what we will do is take a brief 5-minute recess before we move into the special council meeting, and then, if that's all right, we'll start again here at maybe 7 minutes, 6:50.
song about a girl who don't treat him right. I try with all my might, can't say a bad thing about her. And I pray the days away, but her voice keeps getting louder. Now I'm reaching for a crown, bottoms up if you're feeling down. I should've learned from the whiskey songs, should've took it from old George Jones. The bottom of the bottle's always dry when you're singing whiskey lullabies. I should've listened to the words they spoke instead of ordering a Jack and Coke. For all the good times that done me wrong, give me one more and make it strong. I should've learned from the whiskey songs.
Bet you think that you're an angel, 'cause you don't like to fight. But if we ain't worth fighting for, then who will make it right? You're giving up too easy, so I'm giving up on you. Now I'm laying here in bed, crying as I read your note, wishing you had the guts to say the things you never wrote. Well, I guess that it's my turn to throw one back and let it burn.
I should've learned from the whiskey songs, should've took it from old George Jones. The bottom of the bottle's always dry when you're singing whiskey lullabies. I should've listened to the words Hank spoke instead of ordering a Jack and Coke. For all the good times that done me wrong, give me one more and make it strong. I should've learned from the whiskey songs. Well, I heard another song about a man who's had enough and no woman there to save him or call his bluff. I pulled over and thought about calling you, but I knew just what that would do. I should've learned from the whiskey songs, should've took it from old George Jones. The bottom of the bottle's always dry when you're singing whiskey lullabies. I should've listened to the words Hank spoke instead of ordering a Jack and Coke. For all the good times that done me wrong, give me one more and make it strong. I should've learned from the whiskey song, should've took it from old George Jones. The bottom of the bottle's always dry when you're singing whiskey lullabies. I should've listened to the words Hank spoke instead of ordering a Jack and Coke. For all the good times that done me wrong, give me one more and make it strong. I should've learned from the whiskey songs.
Oh, I got the Tullamore blues, and I don't know what to do. I can't love no one but you, it's true, and I've got these Tullamore blues. Many roads I must go down, so many roads that I must choose. It's like walking 20 miles in the shoes, and I got
All right, thank you. Welcome back, council. Now call to order our special council meeting of October 7, 2025. Call for a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Snow, Councillor Morrison. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Changes, revisions, or noes? There are none. Great. Opportunity for any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item before you tonight at the special council meeting. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move into item 4, resolution COS 25-100. I'll hand this over to Chair of Finance, Councillor MacDougall. Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a resolution here, moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Snow. Whereas subsections 171(1) of the Municipal Government Act states that a council shall in each fiscal year prepare annual financial statements of the municipality for the immediately preceding fiscal year ending March 31st. Be it resolved that the council approve the 2024-25 audited financial statements as presented by I'm dating myself, Doan Grant Thornton LLP on September 25th, 2025.
Thank you, Councillor. Resolution COS 25-100, moved by Councillor MacDougall, seconded by Deputy Mayor Snow, is on the floor. Further comments, questions, statements from members of council? Seeing and hearing none, will call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, the resolution is carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor MacDougall. Move on to item 5, resolution COS 25-101, half incentive bylaw, first reading. Councillor Doiron.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolution COS 25-101, whereas the City of Summerside has received funds through the Housing Accelerator Fund program, which have been delegated to incentivize the redevelopment of existing properties. And whereas pursuant to the Municipal Government Act and amendments thereto, a municipality has the authority to establish a grant bylaw for the purpose of issuing grants and for establishing qualifying criteria that applicants must meet in order to obtain those grants. Therefore, be it resolved that the Housing Accelerator Fund incentive bylaw be hereby... Did somebody fall over there? I'm so sorry. Make sure everybody's okay. Be it resolved that the Housing Accelerator Fund incentive bylaw be hereby declared as read a first time. Moved by myself, and I would ask for a seconder from a member of council. Councillor Morrison. And we're still falling to pieces over there.
All right, resolution COS 25-101, moved by Councillor Doiron, seconded by Councillor Morrison's on the floor. All in favor, please indicate. Oh no, what am I saying? Is on the floor. Any further comments, questions, statements from members of council? Members of the public who are joining us here, Councillor Deputy Mayor Snow is quickly destroying the chambers here, and we're all sort of the front row seat. But any questions, comments, statements on the matter before you? Seeing and hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is carried. The ayes have it of 6-1. We will now move to an in-camera session. So we have 3 items on in-camera. So we'll ask members of staff or council to close the doors. The first 2 are open to all, staff and council, and then the third item, 6C, is council only, and then we'll adjourn the meeting after that.